Welcome once again to the Gaming News Canada show presented by GBG PLC. I'm your host, Steve McAllister. Over the past 2 years, artificial intelligence is a topic that has come up frequently on our show while speaking with regulators, operators, industry advocates, and leaders of companies across the data, technology, and compliance sectors with skin in the legal gambling game. Still, it feels as if we've just scratched the surface with a butter knife on the topic of AI. I just finished my latest bit of nighttime reading with a book published by The Logic, a Canadian business and technology newsroom that's been covering the country's innovation economy since 2018. The book, Is Canada Ready for AI? Superintelligence, has inspired me to go deeper into the topic and its current and future impacts on the gambling industry. To help us peel the onion back a few more layers on AI, we will be joined shortly by Seth Schorr, gambling industry veteran and the current CEO of Fifth Street Gaming. It's also worth noting, especially at a time of economic tensions both within our home and native land and with our longtime friends south of the border, Canada has been a major player in what The Logic calls the AI revolution, and many believe that movement has been led by a University of Toronto professor named Geoffrey Hinton. We hope you enjoy the interview with Seth and highly recommend getting your hands on The Logic's book, Is Canada Ready for AI? We welcome to the Gaming News Canada show for the first time the Chief Executive Officer of Fifth Street Gaming and the founding partner of GMA Consulting, Seth Schorr. Hey, Seth, this is long overdue. We're closing in on the 4th anniversary of Gaming News Canada, and I can't believe that we haven't had you on the show, but that's my bad.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here today, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Hey Seth, I'd like to start. You're a true gambling industry veteran, and for the so-called old timers who might listen to this podcast, I mean, you got your start in this industry working at places like the Mirage and Wynn Resorts, and obviously there's been an incredible sea change with the gambling industry in North America over the past quarter of century. But I'd love to start just with your own personal journey in this business.
Yeah, for sure. I've been very lucky both to have my own, career over the past 20 to 25 years. But even further back, I had a front row seat, since the 1980s here in Las Vegas, seeing our city change and really be the catalyst for change throughout the industry. Watching my father, Mark Schorr, who was by Steve Wynn's side for over 40 years, really change the way that we engage our guests and really what the gambling industry means for everybody today really was started back then.
Hey Seth, I guess as far as Fifth Street goes today, like your company, you've got your fingers in certainly different pies of the sector, right?
I do. So, at our core, we do own and operate brick and mortar casinos, mostly here in Las Vegas, although I have had experience opening properties in Macau and Atlantic City and other jurisdictions around the world. But we've had a lot of overlap between the brick and mortar space and online gaming. My experience with online gaming goes back to the year 2000, so 25 years ago, which is a very long time ago, actually working with developers in Canada. Canada was definitely ahead of the curve, launching some of the first online casinos back in the mid-1990s. Today we operate brick and mortar casinos. We have an online presence. We have an affiliate presence. We have restaurants, bars. So we do have quite a diverse portfolio of businesses.
Hey, Steve, just, there's been so much talk both in the U.S. and Canada about cannibalization and kind of the roadblocks and the opportunities from integrating retail and online casinos. I'd just love to get your thoughts. It seems that you're a supporter of that, but why do you think you mentioned your experience with online casino go back 25 years. Why is it there seems to still be this tug of war around that issue?
Well, let me answer the first question first. In terms of cannibalization, I don't believe that the gambling/entertainment industry has the same risks and challenges that, let's say, the traditional retail business has, where their business is mostly transactional. I want to buy a good it is just easier for me to buy that product on Amazon than it is to get in my car and drive to the store. Fortunately, the gambling industry, for a majority of our customers, for the customers that want the experience, the social experience, that want to interact with people, that's not replaced by online gaming. Online gaming certainly allows people to, whether it's place a sports wager or have a little bit of fun playing, online slots at home. It's a very, very different experience than what one gets here in an integrated resort in Las Vegas or really anywhere around the world.
Hey, the reason I wanted to get you on, Seth, we've kind of touched on artificial intelligence on various podcasts over the past year. It seems to come up in every conversation we have on this platform. I reached out to some people a few weeks ago and said, hey, if we want to get somebody to really dig into AI, and our mutual friend Pat Eichner had suggested you'd be a great guest to have on the podcast. And we're recording this podcast on Tuesday morning, February 11th. And as I was saying to you before I hit the record button, I mean, I woke up this morning and I feels like I've heard AI 175 times already this morning, and everything from the AI Action Summit that's going on in Paris right now with political and other leaders from around the world gathering to talk about AI. News came over LinkedIn this morning with Catena Media's latest results, and they've actually they're discontinuing an AI content generation platform joint venture. Although the head of Catena did mention that it doesn't mean that they aren't going to continue investing in AI. Maybe just start with a simple question, Seth, and is there an easy definition of AI in your mind? Because again, I think if you have canvassed 10 different people about AI, you might get 10 different answers.
Sure. First of all, I think that the conversations around AI are completely warranted. This is the greatest technological revolution in my lifetime. I'd argue in many ways more transformational than access to information online. I think this is closer to giving humans the personal computer and word processors. It really changes the way that we interact with technology and output information. It doesn't give us access to any more information. That's already been at our disposal for decades, but really allows us to now take control and create information with the assistance of artificial intelligence. So that's how I see it. I use a multitude of artificial intelligence tools. I've been using them aggressively for at least 4 years now. I mean, I don't do anything without some help from AI, both in my professional and personal worlds as it relates to creating content.
Do you remember your first experience with AI?
I do. So probably in 2021, so a little over 4 years ago, I have a media company called Hefebet, and we created an online media platform. And our team from Latin America was pretty ahead of the curve with AI, and they were creating all sorts of content, both written and creative graphics with AI. And I was very, very impressed. But I'll be honest, at that point, 4 years, right? Not really a long time, but in AI, timeline, it might as well be 40 years. The content was not great. It did seem artificial. And it's been really neat to see how quick things have progressed. But I saw the benefit right away, specifically around the creation of graphics and not having to do photo shoots and go and scout talent and models, but to be able to create those images through AI was quite remarkable.
Have you found, Seth, that the conversations that you have, be it at conferences or speaking to other groups of people or even meetings within your own companies, that the conversation has shifted around AI over that time?
Yeah, of course it has. And look, I can speak from my own personal experience that over the last 10 to 15 years, I've been involved in a lot of conversations around innovation and the next big thing, mostly in gaming, skill gaming, esports, so on and so forth, server-based gaming back in the day. I mean, there was always a thing that we rallied around as an industry. One, because it was a hot topic and new and fun to talk about. But two, most people truly did see the value and were sort of rooting for this new innovation. And so in some ways, AI, when it comes to conferences, has filled that void, but it's just a totally different thing. I mean, there is no question AI has already changed the world. If you're not on that bandwagon, there's no argument. This is not an argument. At this point, I think it's everybody's, from a professional perspective, responsibility to just understand how they are going to leverage AI, both personally as an executive and in their company. If it's ignored, you might as well shut the doors, because you are absolutely going to fall behind and lose out to your competition. Hard stop.
Hey, Seth, just off that comment, like, can you remember, has there been another issue where you said the same thing, where if you try to ignore this, you're going to basically get run over by a freight train?
I have, and I was wrong, and there's nothing. There's just no comparison. I mean, I think I'm 48, so I can't say that I was in this position when personal computers came out, but I think that would be somebody still using a typewriter that refused to use a personal computer. I mean, that's about the best example I can give. And it's just a wonderful thing. I mean, I'm an advocate. My wife sometimes makes fun of me. She thinks that I'm in love with my AI. I do treat specifically the GPTs that I've created. So I'm mostly a ChatGPT user. I do treat them like team members in the way that I communicate, in the way that I share information. It's no different than I would somebody who's working for me or with me. I got to give context in how I want them to help me. And I do that with AI. I put everything through AI so that it's up to speed on what's going on in my life and how I can help. And it's amazing. I've gone all in. I trust it. I don't have privacy concerns. I'm just all in when it comes to AI.
Yeah, full disclosure, Seth, I'm 64, and I think I've, slowly being kicked, somewhat dragging, crying and screaming into the AI world. But for our podcast, our executive producer, Mark Silver, I know he uses ChatGPT to create the headlines that go out with this podcast, that, with an eye towards being SEO friendly. And I guess in terms of, I think of what you just mentioned about personal computers and that, most of my career has been spent in the sports media industry. And I remember it wasn't that long ago when people in my industry poo-pooed the notion that people would ever watch a sporting event on their phone. And of course, that's been completely blown to smithereens over the last, maybe more than a decade now.
It's interesting, Steve. I mean, I'll just use what I assume your process may be. If you think about AI as an assistant, it's not doing anything that certainly you can't do. And as a matter of fact, it won't be successful in assisting you if you don't give it the right information. So, as you decided, you wanted me to be on your show, you tell AI, hey, I just asked Seth Schorr to be on the show. This is who he is. These are the type of questions I want to ask. Boom. It'll just organize it for you. So instead of you taking 2 hours to prepare for this interview, it'll take you 2 minutes. Then a week or two goes by. You're a busy guy. You're interviewing other people. The morning of the show, hey, ChatGPT, remind me the questions I wanted to ask Seth. You think of anything new? Just let's brainstorm. It's like this perfect assistant that is there to support you in every way, just make your life easier. And that's how I look at it. That's how I use it. And it truly has changed my life.
Okay, you've sold me, Seth. I'm sold. I'll start that for the next podcast subject. Hey, I want to ask you, one thing, there's been a real debate about jobs and what AI will do to the workforce. And I mentioned in the introduction that I just finished reading a book on the influence of Canadians in artificial intelligence, and this conversation that you and I are having, and there are going to be people involved in AI. So I hear your excitement and your enthusiasm for AI, and it just feels to me that this is just another piece of innovation that is going to create jobs and complement existing jobs. And I'm sure you can put it frame it in a better way than I have.
Yeah, absolutely. It will just change the jobs. It doesn't replace jobs. It's a tool. So as you mentioned earlier, I'm the founding partner of GMA Consulting. Our organization's been around for nearly 20 years. We've been assisting organizations, mostly in the casino and hospitality industry, but others as well, with all sorts of analysis, studies, feasibility studies, help with really, really hard, complex issues that both offline and online properties may be facing. Our consultants, our team, our analysts, they're not going to be replaced by AI. Our consulting practice isn't going to be replaced by AI. Our clients aren't going to be able to boot up ChatGPT and just ask it the same questions it's asking at us. It may get an answer, but not in the same way. The difference is our teams are a little more efficient. We're able to hire more people that are there to build relationships with our clients, to focus on that human interaction, to be able to sit with our clients, to be able to truly understand their needs and not be buried in an Excel document for 9 hours, not take 2 days to create a pretty PowerPoint presentation of our studies, but literally take 2 minutes or two hours. So it allows us to focus on the things that matter as human beings and allow technology to do the mundane stuff, which technology has been doing for decades. This is just an extension of how we as humans use this remarkable tool. Here, I'm sitting at the Downtown Grand, one of our properties here in Las Vegas. Like almost every hotel in the world, we have kiosks where people can check in. That didn't replace front desk people. It just allowed us to have less of them and allowed us to have more managers. But when somebody comes into the hotel and they're tired from a long trip, we have a manager that's able to go up to them, bring them a cup of coffee, shake their hand, because we don't have to waste the labor dollars with 10 people literally printing a key, which a kiosk can do just as well, if not better.
I mentioned a few minutes ago about just the different sectors of the gambling industry and the opportunities and challenges with AI. And again, we talk in this show a lot about responsible gambling. Paul Burns from the Canadian Gaming Association has mentioned recently about the anti-money laundering laws in Canada and the need for changes there. We had Don Bourgeois and Harley Redlick on the previous podcast talking about a certificate program in gambling law that they're offering, and about, again, educating people either just starting to work in the gambling industry or have been in the gambling industry for a while, and all the changes that we see about the issues and challenges facing them. Probably a two-pronged question here, Seth. Like what areas of the gambling sector kind of excites you when it comes to AI, and what are the challenges that you see?
Yeah. So let's touch on responsible gaming, which is so important, especially when we're focused online. That is one of the best case studies I saw, probably for the first time, maybe 3 years ago. There are a couple great outfits, mostly out of Europe, who's a little more advanced than we are in North America around online gaming. But there's some great companies that have created AI tools specifically around problem gaming. When you have hundreds of thousands or millions of users, it's hard, if not impossible, without the right technology and programming to identify potential problem gaming and to be able to help our customers and players. No operator wants somebody who has a gambling problem to continue to gamble. It's not good for anybody. But it's sometimes not so obvious. And to have AI that looks at things like the number of times they log in 24 hours, the times of day they're logging in, sometimes subtle behavior where we can get ahead of the problem and not wait for somebody to lose too much money or to have to self-exclude or limit their deposits. And it's just better for business to identify somebody, early on and suggest maybe they cool off or they limit their logins to one time a day and not 10. All things that can be done with artificial intelligence. Without those tools, things have to become much more black and white. You identify things a little too late when there is a problem. You have to cut somebody off completely, which isn't good for business. It isn't good for anybody. And that is one of the very important ways that AI has become a great tool, both for the operator and to protect the player.
Yeah, you mentioned the efficiencies again. I would think that would apply to with KYC and payments and all those intricacies. Once you become a customer with a sports book or you go to a casino.
Absolutely, and customer service. We've all been using AI with customer support as we're dealing with online retailers or airlines, and I think we know it, right? Nobody's trying to pretend that the AI is a human. It usually says, AI chatbot. We're here to answer those first line of questions, and as soon as the question can't be answered by AI, of course, it's quickly shuffled to a live human. But it's a great example, and that tool is getting better and better every day.
Hey, gaming news guys! Are you ready to win a bigger share of Canada's rapidly expanding gaming market? Then GBG are ready to help. As the global leaders in identity verification, GBG partner with over 60% of iGaming Ontario brands to help them onboard more players, maximize match rates, and deliver FinTrack compliance. Visit gbgplc.com today and talk to the trust experts. Hey Seth, in terms of the product side, and again, in Ontario here, there's 51 operators in this marketplace. Ontario is going to celebrate its third anniversary as a regulated marketplace at the beginning of April. I think the latest iGaming Ontario reports revealed that about 85% of customers now are playing online casino games, and we know in the U.S. there's a real push, lobbying efforts to get legal iGaming expanded beyond. I think it's the 7 states right now in the U.S. that offer legal iGaming. But from a product perspective, what does AI provide in terms of opportunities?
Yeah, so we work with a gentleman by the name of Fernando Pulte. Has a great company called Wizards Global. He has an AI solution that helps game developers create games. And so just the creative process for a game studio to be able to create a game more efficiently, cheaply, so that they can then go out and test and iterate the product. So I think that's going to be very helpful as content is king and more games need to be created. His specific technology ultimately will allow the end user to actually create graphics that are customized for them. So if Steve, you're into the Western motif and you want to play a slot game with this many reels that has Western characters with with Frank Sinatra music, you can program that into the generator and it spits out a game that's created just for you. Of course, all of the game mechanics behind the scenes are all the same, but it allows you to create a customized experience. So that was a cool platform and technology that I saw created over the last 2 years. Just one of many, many examples where AI is helping with product development.
And Seth, are you saying that it feels to me like it's almost every day I get a press release with a new gaming partnership or new games being produced. And do you think AI has played a role in allowing companies like Wizard to turn those games around more quickly and develop new games?
Absolutely. No, it's much, it happens more quickly. I've been involved with game studios over the, 15 years and the amount of money that it used to cost to create a game, and you just don't know if it's going to work. it makes it almost impossible, made it almost impossible for a new young studio to try things out. And that's where innovation is created. So where IGT, Light and Wonder, the big boys have, R&D, innovation labs, and they can create lots of games and test them out, and they have a budget for that. It used to be cost prohibitive for smaller startups to create games, and that's no longer the case. And I think that's really important because in my experience, innovation, comes out of the garage more so than out of your big company.
And then in terms of the sports betting piece, it's funny. I saw a post this morning from Sport Radar CEO Karsten Curl talking about his company and how they want to be a leader in AI, and we see what's going on in sports betting, and that was elevated by the Super Bowl last week in terms of parlays and live and play betting, and again just how important and relevant I would think AI is being and allowing these sportsbook to offer these in-game plays, and also to give bettors the opportunity to have deeper engagement in betting on a sporting event.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great tool. And look, just like any technology, I think to someone, I don't want to say it's a bad actor, but to someone who's opportunistic, they may, try to leverage tools to get an advantage. And, as long as they're not breaking any laws, good for them. And then it's on the operator side to identify that and to just make sure there's always a level playing field. But I think, that just comes with the territory.
And I would think you're always going to have, Seth, there are going to be bettors out there who, have developed their own systems, and all we've really seen is an evolution from sophisticated Excel spreadsheets to using AI to create those models for themselves, right?
It's nothing new. Once again, the professional bettors just get more efficient. Instead of having a boiler room with 20 quants tapping away at the computer, they've developed models to help them with sophisticated betting. So nothing new. People have been leveraging technology for 30 or 40 years when it comes to sports betting, and this is definitely just the latest iteration.
Hey, Seth, has your experience been, especially being based in Vegas, that there have been people that you've had to kind of drag by the shirt tail to embrace, maybe not even embrace AI, but just to acknowledge that it's there and that it is a useful tool?
Less so than other technologies. And the best way to do it is just to show them how. I mean, ChatGPT is such an easy tool. It's OpenAI has done such a good job in making it accessible, right? It's much more accessible than Microsoft Excel, right? That's something that certainly could have been intimidating when it was first introduced.
Right.
But the way they've made it accessible, I think is very easy. And what I found is I almost have to dumb down the examples when I tell people what to use AI for. They would say, I would never have thought, why would I run that through AI? And as I give people examples and they do it, they realize how much it can help every area of their life. I live by ChatGPT and another platform called Gamma, Gamma. Your listeners will thank me when they go check it out. But it creates presentation decks and web pages. I use ChatGPT to create prompts. I cut and paste the prompts in Gamma, and it literally creates decks and websites within a matter of minutes. So I don't know how someone won't find that to be incredibly helpful and cool, but I would suggest to your listeners to give it a try.
It almost sounds like your first thought every day in your day-to-day operation now is how can I use AI here instead of how can I need to pick up the phone and call so-and-so, or I need to send a text message to Joe Smith right now.
I do. And at this point, it really just comes naturally. I'm currently in the middle of a couple of relatively large business transactions, and I have different GPTs for each of those businesses, the specific chat GPTs that I created. And I'm constantly just uploading emails and information so it knows where I'm at in the negotiation or process. not because I'm asking it for help. I know it needs to be done just to keep me organized. No different than back in the day. I would have had an assistant to just keep me organized. And that's one of the many ways how I use ChatGPT.
Hey, just beyond the gambling industry, Seth, on a really broad scale, like, is there something in particular that excites you about artificial intelligence and the opportunities or what you're seeing in other sectors right now, how maybe that might apply to your industry down the road?
I think we're in such early days, and the speed at which these platforms are innovating and changing. I mean, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, every time I launch ChatGPT, it has a whole new feature. Just launched a feature last week called Operator, where it can actually surf the web and do things for you. I mean, it's remarkable. So I don't know. At this point, I just feel really lucky to be a person in my position during this time. So I don't know. I can't imagine what things are going to be like in a few years from now. But I think it's all incredibly positive. And at GMA Consulting, we have programs where we actually do work with our clients to help them learn how their organization can embrace AI. As I mentioned, we use AI ourselves to help with our analysis. We have decades of data that we're able to feed into our different models. So yeah, if anybody wants to learn more about it, we are happy to help.
Hey, Seth, last question. We get a lot of people that subscribe to Gaming News Canada or one of our most popular features in our newsletter are the job postings. And, for anyone getting into this industry now, or is there advice you could give to university students or people looking at this industry who might be, have that special skill set around data or technology in terms of AI? Are there programs you would steer them towards or advice you would give them in terms of finding work in this industry through the AI lane?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, the advice I give to any recent college graduate is to, get one's foot in the door as quickly as possible. I think the one thing that AI doesn't replace is the need for people to still be subject matter experts. You still need people to create the right prompts and ask AI the right questions. For better or worse, what I think probably will change is, less of an emphasis on people coding, computer engineering. At least that'll be done in a different way. So, I think as quickly as one can find themselves inside the building, learning from other people, I think EQ is going to be as important as IQ, and people with, great personalities and drive are the type of people that, I certainly look for and hope to have in my organization.
Yeah, that's great advice. I always said if you get people with great attitudes, you can always teach them and develop them. That's so true. Seth Schorr is the Chief Executive Officer of Fifth Street Gaming, founding partner of GMA Consulting. Hey, Seth, Pat Eichner was right. So glad to get you on the program. I'm a little smarter. We will provide links to those people like myself, or I guess are dinosaurs, and we'll include links to ChatGPT to Gamma. But really appreciate your time and insight, Seth. This was a great conversation.
Anytime. Thanks, Steve. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. That's it for this episode of the Gaming News Canada show presented by GBG PLC. As always, you can find these podcasts at gamingnewscanada.ca and on the various podcast platforms. Again, thanks to Seth Schorr for joining us today, and we will see everybody again very, very soon.